I have a little sister. She's 7, and she's in first grade. I have a older brother. He's 20, and I'm just in the middle of the family.
Ever since the New Kids on the Block burst onto the scene in the late 1980s, pop music has undergone a major transformation. The New Kids spearheaded what is known as the vocal group culture, or boy and girl bands. The New Kids eventually faded out in the early 1990s, but record companies in Europe and the US have been astounded by the impact they've made on the pop scene, so they quickly got to work on finding the next teen sensation. Before long, we were given Take That, and nobody in earnest could have quite predicted the record sales and popularity they would achieve. There was clearly a massive audience for this soulful, upbeat brand of music. Also, there was a wealth of young singers and dancers all eager to perform. Take That split up in the mid-1990s, leaving thousands of broken hearts in their wake. But it would not be long until a host of new pop idols would take their place. Soon, young music lovers all over Europe, America and Asia could take their pick from the likes of Boyz II Men, E17 and Upside Down. Music magazines were bursting with posters and interviews of budding stars. Shows like the BBC's Alive and Kicking thrived on the host of new talent available for interviews and performances. Ratings soared as thousands of young kids tuned in to catch a glimpse of their idols. The whole world seemed to be going boy band crazy. Then another musical revolution occurred, which again was to change the face of the teenage pop scene. The Spice Girls arrived. The smash hit Wannabe raced to the top of the UK charts. All of a sudden, the boy bands had a fight on their hands from girl power. Not since Take That had Europe in particular seen a group have this sort of impact on the pop scene. They soon turned into national celebrities. The media tracked them relentlessly and gave them all their own Spice names, and soon everyone had their favourite Spice Girl. The girl power craze paved the way for numerous other girl bands, such as Eternal, and later the All Saints and The Witched. With a few exceptions, such as the Spice Girls and Take That, the vocal band culture did not catch on as much in the US as it did in Europe. The New Kids became extinct, and that more or less was that. Although many attempts were made to emulate the European pop scene, most ended in comparative failure. That was until business tycoon Lou Pearlman and New Kids road manager Johnny Wright put their heads together and masterminded the Backstreet Boys and later NSYNC. All of a sudden, America was once again rocking to the beat of a vocal group. More importantly, the door was once again open for new acts. One thing that was missing from this extraordinary array of teenage talent was a young solo artist of any real calibre. This was largely because record companies were picking up young artists and grouping them into boy or girl bands. In the 80s, there was the teen sensation Tiffany, who had a huge success with the hit I Think We're Alone Now, but she was soon yesterday's news. There have been rare exceptions of solo success in the teen market. Artists such as Louise Nerding of Eternal and more recently Billie have both enjoyed top 10 hits. Billie was just 15 when she had her first hit, so her success is more remarkable than that of Louise, who benefited from the experience she gained along the way with Eternal. The majority of solo artists are of a far more mature nature. Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston, Madonna, Celine Dion, Prince, Michael and Janet Jackson are all globally acclaimed artists, but all appeal as much to the elder generation as they do the young. It could be argued that record companies had not yet unearthed a teenage talent truly dynamic enough to take the centre stage all on his or her own. Whatever the reasons may be, teenage pop music had been lacking in an individual role model, somebody who could stand alone on stage and shoulder the full burden of responsibility. Over the last year, however, a new artist has emerged from the USA. She has had such a huge impact on the pop scene since her debut album was released in January that people have been hailing her as the next Madonna. Britney Spears is the type of charismatic performer that would inspire any girl or boy thinking of becoming a pop star. Motivated by a burning desire to express herself on stage and a restlessness that wills her to travel and keep learning, Britney could and would only ever become one thing.
When my mom would have company, I was always performing. I would sing and I would dance, and my dad, he built me a beam in my living room. And I was always on the beam, and my mom was like, Britney, please, just calm down.
Britney Spears was born on December 2nd, 1981, in the small town of Kentwood, Louisiana. Kentwood is a traditional, hard-working rural community that relies mainly on farming as its main form of industry. It is a very close-knit community where there is little else to do but go to school or work and then meet up and chat with friends. In fact, for over a century there has been nothing much to shout about in Kentwood, other than crystal clear spring water and a couple of pro footballers. That was until a star was born, who, within a short space of time, would put this friendly southern town firmly on the USA showbiz map. Britney, for a while at least, was like any other little girl in the community. She collected dolls, listened to Michael Jackson, and tore around the dusty roads in her go-kart. She was brought up on honest religious principles, attending Sunday school at the local Baptist church, where she also sang in the choir. It was not long, though, until Britney's mother, Lynn, noticed that her toddler possessed a natural talent for singing. It was a normal summer's day when the happy-go-lucky Britney was bouncing up and down on the trampoline in her back garden. Lynn was watching when she noticed her daughter singing in perfect pitch. She excitedly called her daughter inside and asked her to sing for her again. Lynn's ears weren't deceiving her. Baby Britney had a naturally beautiful singing voice. She used to dance around in front of the mirror with a hairspray can singing to Michael Jackson, but she had never really put two and two together until this moment. The incident made her feel excited, and she immediately enrolled at the René Donois School of Dance. At the tender age of 4, Britney remembers giving her first ever public performance singing "What Child Is This" at the local church. From this point onwards, Britney wanted to show off her talent, whenever and wherever she could, whether it be at the Kentwood Dairy Festival or at a kindergarten. She was hungry to perform, and when she performed, she shone. She was a star of the kindergarten graduation ceremonies, displaying promise beyond her years. Britney also proved that she possessed greater dedication than her classmates when she won an award for the best attendance at the René Donois Dance School. During the presentation, she was dressed in a gold leotard and wore a tiara. The future Princess of Pop was starting to get a taste of things to come. By the time she was 8 years old, Britney was winning everything she entered. She triumphed in gymnastic competitions, where she would cap off her routine with the now infamous backflip, and was also the winner in 2 age groups at the Miss Talent Central States competition. The talent contest took place in a town called Baton Rouge in Louisiana. Little did Britney know that in a few years' time, she would return here to a reception beyond her wildest dreams. Within the next 2 years, Britney's medals and ribbons would continue to mount up. In April 1992, she made the front page of the Kentwood News Ledger when she won the coveted Miss Talent USA contest at the Monroe Civic Center. Her prize for defeating 17 other contestants from around the country was a $1,000 check, a trophy that was practically the same size as she was, and also 2 appearances on the national talent contest Star Search. After this success, Britney began pushing her parents harder and harder to escort her all over America for various auditions. In situations such as this, where parents discover they have a gifted child like the young Britney, it is usually for the mom or dad to push them to the absolute limit, eager for success. This was not the case with Britney. She was the one making the plans. From a young age, she believed so much in what she was doing that all her parents could do was support and guide her. In time, they would begin to see Britney's vision. Britney's parents and neighbours weren't the only ones who had noticed this emerging young talent, and ironically, it was during a failed audition that her first truly exciting move came about. She had tried to enroll for Disney's Mickey Mouse Club, but at the age of 8, she was adjudged to be too young. One of the producers, however, noticed great promise in her audition. He arranged for her to be linked up with an agent in New York and assured Britney that with plenty of hard work, she could no doubt secure a future slot as a cast member at the club. Britney was tremendously excited about the whole prospect of moving to New York. She was naturally starting to feel as if her budding career was being restricted by life in Kentwood. Her parents, on the other hand, were far more apprehensive about the move. As supportive as they were of her talents, it was a big move for one so young. but Britney's dogged determination as ever won her through. If ever her parents weren't truly convinced of how Britney intended to spend her future, they were now.
Like hip-hop, funky moves. Well, when I was little, I did the tap and the ballet and, you know, the things that you have to take. But now just the jazz and hip-hop.
So Britney, along with her mum and her little sister Jamie, packed up and headed for New York. It was a move that got the town of Kentwood gossiping. To take a young girl out of the safety of her hometown and then go to New York of all places astounded many local mothers. But Lynn Spears knew exactly what she was doing. She knew she had to help bring her daughter's talents to the fore and had her quickly enrolled at New York's prestigious Professional Performing Arts School. The school was founded in 1990 and is a notorious hotbed for young American talent. The PPAS, as it is better known, combines academic studies with pursuit of artistic excellence, so talented young performers need not sacrifice their education in order to accomplish their dreams. To gain entry to the school, students need to pass an audition, for which Britney was fully prepared. She then went on to study music theory, vocal technique and harmony, as well as attending normal classes. Britney was truly in amongst America's hottest talent. All the kids at the school were serious about a career in performing arts. Many of them were already performing on Broadway or were appearing on TV or in the movies. It was exactly the kind of focused environment that Britney needed to allow her talent to blossom. It also helped to increase her understanding of the entertainment industry. The hard work was not over at the end of the school day either. She would go from school to an off-Broadway workshop called the Dance Center. Here she studied tap, ballet and jazz, all the time concentrating on broadening her artistic horizons, whilst gaining an essential understanding of the true origins of her art. Interest in Britney's talent began to grow. Soon she was appearing in national TV commercials and off-Broadway shows, the most famous of which was in 1991, a black comedy called Ruthless, which originated from the 1956 thriller Bad Seed. The play is about a girl called Tina Denmark, who on the surface appears to be a sweet and innocent child, but hidden beneath the sweet exterior is an evil and mischievous character who is determined to be a star. In the play itself, the character Tina is asked to play a poodle dog called Puddles rather than play the lead role, which she so craves. Tina will stop at nothing to ensure she is the one who gets the limelight. Britney was hilarious in the role, carrying off the sweet yet secretly evil Tina to perfection. She now reflects on how fun it was to play this spoilt evil brat of a child, and then afterwards meet the audience, who would still half expect her to perform some dastardly act. The new life that Britney was leading at this time was worlds apart from the laid-back rural lifestyle she had left behind. Where before a night out was a trip with friends to the burger bar, she now was exposed to a land of endless opportunity. She was dazzled by a city that seemingly never sleeps, where regardless of the time of day, there is always an atmosphere of excitement. Another aspect of New York life, which would have come as a surprise to Britney, is the amount of people trying to get into showbiz. The auditions were teeming with young hopefuls, all competing for the opportunity to experience the glitz and glamour of the entertainment industry. Britney had to remain dedicated and not get disheartened by the numerous setbacks. Even when she shone during auditions, the casting directors might say she was too young or too old, or she might have the wrong coloured hair. Patience and self-belief was required. Fortunately for Britney, she has these in abundance.
Yeah, I've always just loved Mariah Carey. I guess because she writes her music, most of her music, and comes up with the best melodies, and she's so beautiful. She's probably my role model.
With 3 years of the very best experience America can offer, Britney decided it was time to re-audition for the Mickey Mouse Club. This time there was no mistaking Britney's obvious talent, and after the usual string of interviews and auditions, she secured one of 7 coveted places and was offered a contract for 2 seasons. 15,000 kids had been auditioned. Many young stars have honed their singing, dancing and acting skills whilst working at the Mickey Mouse Club. Scouts and agents are always keeping a keen eye on the developing talent at the club, ready to snap them up for record deals or roles in TV and film when their term ends. Amongst her fellow cast members who qualified that season was a young singer-dancer who would eventually join Britney at the pinnacle of teen pop success, NSYNC's Justin Timberlake. Britney also met her soulmate and another current pop star, Christina Aguilera. Britney and Christina seemed to share identical tastes in everything. They had the same hobbies, liked the same food, and even had the same taste in men. Their friendship was important in those first few nerve-wracking months at the club. Britney was still only 11 years old and was the youngest of the new recruits. She was determined not to be overawed by her own achievements and worked hard in a cool and professional manner. Officials who worked on the show remembered this new kid arriving on the scene glowing with excitement, yet truly prepared to roll her sleeves up and give 100%. During the first few weeks on the show, Britney had to fight off the nerves and tell herself this was what all the hard work in New York was for. It was time to make Kentwood, Louisiana proud. As the months progressed, Britney grew in stature, fast becoming one of the exceptional cast members. Officials described her as a powerhouse who would bring vibrancy and excitement to everything she did. Britney was also notorious for a remarkable sense of humour, which unfortunately made her the butt of many pranks. The producers would do things like holding the dressing room door shut until the last moment that she was due on stage. She would struggle to get out of the room and be all out of breath for her performance. Once or twice they were even known to spin her round, so she would go out on stage all dizzy. Lynn was on hand at all times to make sure her daughter was happy, and also to make sure she kept her feet on the ground in case the newfound success went to her head. In Britney's first season at the Mickey Mouse Club, 36 episodes were shot. She was heavily involved in many sketches and skits, and had great fun rubbing shoulders with celebrity guests like Brian McKnight and Jeremy Jordan. Every now and then Britney would be allowed to end the show with a cheery, "See you soon." The show ran on the basis of 6 months on, 6 months off, so Britney was still able to enjoy time with her friends and family. Like ordinary children, she still enjoyed playing basketball and riding her go-kart. But she was now privileged enough to go shopping for classy clothes in shops like Gap. She was also starting to develop an eye for the men, with a particular affection for Australian heartthrob Mel Gibson. By the time Britney reached her second season on the Mickey Mouse Club, she was a firm favourite with the producers and choreographers. She would remember her lines, pick up dance routines, and sing as if she had been doing it all her life. Her warm, compassionate personality continued to develop. She would spend much of her time in between shoots making the cast members feel comfortable and advising kids in the audience how they too could work as a TV entertainer. For someone who had been propelled from a small town to the big screen, spending 3 years in New York City along the way, she was displaying an endearing modesty.
You know, if you love what you're doing, it's going to be all right, you know. So this is what I want to do, and I'm going to do it.
The start of January 1997 saw the end of the Mickey Mouse Club. The show had to be cancelled by Disney because of poor ratings, and many disappointed kids, including a 14-year-old Britney, were sent back to their hometowns. The officials at the club were just as disappointed at the show's cancellation as the kids were. They knew, however, it would not be the last they would see of their budding stars. The pace of Britney's lifestyle changed considerably, and she returned to high school to continue her studies. The last 5 years of her life had been crucial for paving the way for her future destiny. She was now an accomplished and versatile performer, capable of singing, dancing, and acting. At this point in her life, she could have gone in one of many different directions within the entertainment industry. Fortunately, there was no need for her to spend hours deciding which road she would take, because over the last 2 years, she had already made up her mind. During her term at the Mickey Mouse Club, she had spent a lot of time at concerts and had also done a fair bit of studio work. This had made her aware that music was her first love, and it would be this she would now concentrate on. For a year or so, Britney would have to again apply the same patience and focus that she showed during her time in New York. She had the comfort of being welcomed back into Kentwood with open arms. It would not be unusual for such a community to display jealousy and resentment towards someone as fortunate as Britney. But they were just pleased to have her back. She attended private school in Macomb, Mississippi, and excelled in English, science, and social studies. Her life had returned to that of a regular teenager, working hard at her studies, going to the movies with her friends, and doing a spot of shopping in between. It was also in this period that she had her first steady boyfriend. Soon Britney began to get bored of home life. It was not that she did not love her family and friends, she just craved the opportunity to express herself artistically. She had learnt so much over the last 5 years that she could not allow herself to go stale. Britney Spears had to keep moving, and her parents more than anyone could sense this.
I auditioned for a girls group, and I got that. And so I came to New York and stayed here for a while. But then the guy said, you know, I think you should be on your own. So I met this entertainment lawyer, Larry Rudolph. And after meeting him, I decided not to do the girls group anymore. It was like, you know, forget this.
Soon after Britney's 15th birthday, her mother sent a homemade demo tape to an entertainment lawyer called Larry Rudolph. The New York-based lawyer was famous for representing musicians such as 98 Degrees and Ghostface Killer of the Wu-Tang Clan. Rudolph immediately liked what he heard, so he contacted Jeff Fenster, who is the Senior Vice President of Artists and Repertoire at Jive Records. Fenster was also impressed by what he heard, even though she sang over an instrumental that wasn't in her key. He recognised that Britney's vocals contained the necessary ingredients to sell records. Britney was then asked to attend an audition at Jive Records. All of this sudden progression was on the strength of one homemade demo tape. If Britney was to be successful in her audition, she would join artists such as Tom Jones, R. Kelly, George Benson and the Backstreet Boys on the books at Jive. So again, Britney returned to New York, the city where for 3 years she had learned so much about being a performer. The question now was, did she really have what it takes to fulfill her wildest ambition? To dance and sing like her mentors, Whitney Houston and Michael Jackson. In order to make the big break, Britney would need to display more than just her dancing and vocal prowess. The teen pop culture was starting to really take off in the US, with the likes of NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys exceeding all expectations with their record sales and concert attendance. The Spice Girls had also been a huge hit in the States, so the pop market was just right for another female vocal act to make an impact. Jive Records would be looking for a performer of real charisma and style, someone with the sort of vibrant personality that would sell as well as the music. Rudolph, to be on the safe side, had sent Britney to New York for inclusion in an all-girl group, but deep down he sensed that she had the talent and personality to be a solo act. He was right. Britney stormed the audition and was described by the executives of Jive as a budding Madonna. Jive Records had struck gold and immediately set about organising the best producers, songwriters and musicians available to help Britney fulfil her true potential. For Britney and her family, the first part of the dream had come true. And from the way the guys at Jive Records were talking, life for the small-town 15-year-old was about to get very exciting indeed.